Hi everyone, today's build video is my build for the Diecast Mafia Dune Buggy challenge. For this we have to build a Dune Buggy. Initially I was a little worried that I wouldn't be able to find a Dune Buggy because when I've been out picking I've seen a bunch of them and then just kind of passed them up. So in the off chance I couldn't find another one, I decided to grab this Beetle from my stash and come up with the idea of turning this into a buggy. But after thinking on it I thought actually that'd be a more fun idea, so that's what I went with. So we have this Hot Wheels Volkswagen Beetle in a bumblebee theme. I'm not sure if this being gold makes it more valuable because I've only seen them in yellow online. But in my local area the Beetles are the first to go, so when I saw this on the shelf I grabbed it quick and didn't really pay any attention if it was valuable or not. If it is, I'm sorry, I'm going to cut this one up. So the first thing I'm going to do with this casting is remove the fenders, and I'm going to use my trusty jeweler saw to do this. I did this off camera so I could focus on making precise cuts, and after I finished taking the fenders off I thought why not make this a convertible. I then dropped the base plate into a jar of bleach to dechrome it. After it's sat in there for a couple of days I'll wash it off with some warm soapy water so it's safe to handle, but I'll do this all off camera. Next I need to remove these pegs on the front which originally were the headlights. After a quick test fit I decided to remove some more of the base plate around this area. Just so I've got some room for when I want to model in the suspension. Moving around to the back, I decided I wanted to have an exposed engine on this one, like most buggies have. So I went rooting for my bits box and found this Hot Wheels Aristocrat engine, which I'd pulled from a previous build. As you can see, this will fit on the back nicely. So I'll just use my jeweler saw to cut off the back end. Since the top of the engine isn't modelled, I'm going to remove this engine from the interior piece of a Zero Smasher, which I used in my previous Diecast Mafia build. I then assemble the engine. And attach it to the back of the car. And then use some baking soda to strengthen up the bond. Next I decided to add some front mounted machine guns. For this I'm going to be using these 172 or 176 airplane machine gun barrels. Sadly I'm not too sure what brand they are because I bought them a long time ago and they've been sat in my bits box for ages. I decided to only use one of the barrels and save the others for future builds, so I split this one in half and then attach it to the inner fenders. For the ammo belts I use my old technique of using zip ties, first cutting this to length, trimming off the edges and then splitting this down the middle. And then bend this into shape using my needle nose pliers. Once I'm happy they'll fit, I cut off any of the excess and super glue them into place. The The idea here is all the ammunition stored in the trunk and the front of the Beetle. Whilst making the other side's gun off camera, I decided to add some of the C-shaped styrene as a feed neck for the ammo belts. Now it's time to add the driver, and for this I'm going to use one of these 3D Jason's World War II British Army drivers. After an initial test fit off camera, I need to remove a section of the seat to fit the driver in. After another test fit, you can see he's going to fit fine, but I'm going to need to remove his legs, which is kind of a common thing when I use these little minifigures. So I remove them at the knees. And then glue them into place. Next I glue the interior piece to the base. This is to make it easier to paint later, but also helps me keep everything in line. So when I'm adding things, I don't have to worry when I go back to assemble it that things don't line up. I then add these Chemsol design exhausts to the engine. Following this, I try to replicate the roll bars that you see on this typical type of buggy, and for this I'm going to use some paper clips because they're already pretty much close to the shape that I want. So I only need to do a little minor cutting and bending to get it to the shape that I want. Then I just trim off the excess before attaching it. After this I need to make some adjustments to the front wheels since the wheels are catching on the ammo belts. Luckily I'm switching these wheels out, but I do need to make a new axle. So I just straighten out a piece of the leftover paper clip for the new front axle, which is a little longer. I also grabbed these Chemsol Designs 12mm wheels, tyre design 3, rim design 3 to replace the front wheels. Next I use these screws to make the front suspension coils. They also help stop the wheel from catching on the ammo belts too. To help hold these in place, I cut some styrene strip into brackets for the suspension coils. For the rear wheels, I first need to make sure that the axle hole isn't clogged up from all the gluing and everything else I've been doing. So I use my pin drill to clear out any blockages. And then do a quick test fit with a piece of styrene rod that I plan to use for the new rear axle, just to make sure everything is rotating freely and it's not getting caught up on anything. I then grab these Chemsol Designs dual type 14mm wheels, tyre 6, rim 6, which I need to drill out with my pin drill to fit the axle. Once I'm happy with the fit, I attach these to the base plate off camera. Now it was time to think about a rear mounted weapon, and after going through my weapons, I decided to pull out this mortar launcher from the Auto Kills Mad Science sprue. I removed the base plate so it will fit into the back seats of the Beetle. I then add some 172 scale Red Dog stowage. Next I take the rear bumper that I removed earlier and trim it down to add to the front bumper to make a makeshift ram. At this point in the build I'm thinking of which sponsor this buggy would fit into, and after looking at a few online I decided to go with slime. Plus I've not built anything for slime yet, so this would be the perfect opportunity. So I did these spikes on the front from Zin Industries large spike sprue. Next I go back and just had to keep the front glass instead of adding my usual mesh, so I just need to remove the rest. Once that's done, I add some screws to the back for the rear suspension, like I did for the front. After looking through the rulebook a little more to find out more about the slime sponsor, I find it has the pinball perk, which allows them to pinball off of an opponent's vehicle after a side impact. So I decided I need to beef up the sides of the buggy, first by adding some spikes to the wheels. I do this by cutting up some H-shaped styrene and then attach these to the wheels, which you can see here is very difficult with the super annoying glue because it wants to stick to everything but what you want it to stick to. So I just decided to do this off camera because it's quite a headache. And here's how that turned out, as well as a quick look at the side ram and what I'll be building next. So to make the side ram, I start by cutting off a piece of square styrene rod. Once attached to the body, I then cut some more of this H-shaped styrene into tiny little pieces. And then cut out some notches into them to make it easier to attach to the side. And then for a final touch, I decided to add this spoiler from a Mistos tune-up Dodge Charger. Anyway, to make the spoiler fit, I cut off the wheelie bar at the back. And then trim it down a bit more. And then once I'm happy with the way it looks, I decided to cut off some notches so that it kind of fit flush with the body. And then finally glue this into place. Moving on to the painting, I start with some Revell Aquacolor Fern Green, since a lot of the slime builds I've seen online are very bright green. I then apply a base coat of Revell Aquacolor Rust to all the metal parts, followed by a dry brushing of Revell Aquacolor Metallic Steel or Aluminium. I then go ahead and paint all the little details off camera to save some time, before finally applying a homemade black wash just to blend everything together and give it that nice dirty wasteland look. And here we have the final build. This was another fun challenge set by the Diecast Mafia. Initially I was a little worried that I wouldn't be able to find a Dune Buggy, but then after having the backup idea, it was smooth sailing. So this was another opportunity to build another vehicle for another sponsor, which I'm hoping to do more of, but it's trying to figure out what vehicles will be best for which sponsors. Be sure to check out everyone else who took part in this challenge by searching Diecast Mafia Dune Buggy Challenge. Please stick around for the glamour shots and the little animation that I usually do. As usual, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all in the next one.